been in the middle of some really great books, and I wanted to do a quick reading update because I feel like in doing the artist way, my reading has really kind of focused on supporting that journey. But as someone who is a lifelong reader and who ultimately started this channel to kind of weave literature in and out of my day-to-day life, also really love talking about books and just wanted to share some of the titles that I'm working through at the moment. I just finished two books. I might have mentioned this one in last week's video, but this is a phenomenal book. This is Restoration by Ave Barrera. It is a Mexican Gothic ghost story, feminist horror about the violence inherent in the male gaze. Such a well written story, top to bottom, zero complaints. The surprise ending completely took me out in the best way. If you are looking to read feminist literature that isn't told from the same perspective or bent, this would be a great option. This was incredibly atmospheric. I loved the prose. Ave Barrera is such a phenomenal writer. I want to go and read other books by her. I think she has three books total. I might be wrong on that. This is from Charco Press, which, as you will see, I'm reading another one of their books. I think this publishing house is becoming one of my favorites very quickly. Unfortunately, I did have a dud. I read The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. This is actually a reread for me. I read this initially when it came out in 2022, but I'm reading it as a part of a TikTok book club that I'm reading it as a part of a TikTok book club discussion group that I was asked to be a part of. And so I'm reading this in conjunction with Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. So I will be starting this one this week. I might do a reading vlog for this. I feel like I'm really going to need to immersively put myself in this novel. I have never read anything by Ishiguro, and admittedly, I'm pretty anxious about starting one of his books. I can't tell you why. I don't know. I think just like Japanese literature is very intimidating to me. So we're reading Klara and the Sun as sort of a juxtaposition or contrast to some of the settings and themes that take place in this one, specifically regarding women who are living in a dystopian society. What would that look like? How does that play out? And I think that was one of the reasons that this disappointed, because it follows a woman who makes a very bad decision and leaves her 2-year-old daughter at home alone in what could be described as a psychotic episode triggered by postpartum depression that hasn't been treated. Those details aside, not a good decision. She ends up being sent to the School for Good Mothers, where she is learning how to be a good mother. And the dystopian side of this novel really isn't explored. We have massive 1984 things happening here, like Big Brother surveillance, the state putting all the pressure of the goodness of society on mothers and their work. And so I like that the novel explores the insane expectations that are put on mothers and that can actively contribute to things like postpartum depression or just depression in general, anxiety, the works. But I did not feel like the themes were explored to the full extent of their capabilities in order to make this novel believable. There wasn't any answers. And on top of that, it really began to grate on me that Frida's postpartum depression was really kind of used as a plot device and did not end up being resolved or worked out. There was a surprise ending that I think was kind of just, I don't know, an attempt to make the novel like a shock ending. It just didn't work. So I'm going into Klara and the Sun pretty blind. I haven't done much digging on what this book is about. I am also in the middle of a International Booker shortlist pick, and that is On Earth as It Is Beneath by Ana Paula Maya. I am also buddy reading this one with Shuba, who I've tagged below. We read We Are Green and Trembling by Gabriela Cabezon Camera last month and was not a favorite. I have a feeling we're liking this one a little bit better. There's definitely a lot to sink our teeth into. Ana Paula Maya uses violence to sort of excavate the dark side of human nature, the depravity that we are capable of in the name of justice. So there is some really interesting systemic things happening here. She is very subtly addressing and exploring the reasons that some people find themselves committing violent acts as opposed to others who do it in the name of justice or where those lines are blurred entirely. So, this is a teensy novel, but she is really packing a punch. It is so quotable. The writing is beautiful. This one I think is going to be a strong contender. I don't know that I see this one winning the Booker Prize, but I do see why it was shortlisted, especially in the context of global violence that is currently being perpetuated. That's my little political rant for the day. Next, I am reading the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. If you are even remotely in the book space, you will undoubtedly have seen this novel. Emma M. Lyon reminds me of the types of books that I used to just inhale in my 20s. Sort of like Downton Abbey esque period pieces with like quippy British humor. This so far is delivering on all of those levels. Now, I have heard that the first volume is maybe not as strong as the subsequent volumes. I'm not really getting that so far in my personal reading, but I'm very early days. This is one that's like perfect to draw a hot bath at the end of the evening and just like sink into the bath and this book simultaneously, crack open a cold LaCroix or whatever it is that your beverage of choice is. I love a good, pleasurable reading moment, but this is really enjoyable. And then last, I have been reading East of Eden on and off since the holiday season. I read 100 pages of this over the last day or two, and I'm quickly becoming a John Steinbeck stan. I'm loving his writing. I love his exploration of the dichotomy of good and evil and how that perpetuates itself from generation to generation. We are now exploring that through Cal and Aaron and how those lines are kind of being blurred a little bit. We have Aaron who is now coming to terms with a potential dark side that he contains, and Cal is attempting to get in touch with his goodness. Steinbeck is the things that he writes can be very devastating and like I'm scared. I'm scared for them. Absolutely loving the exploration of culture and society along these lines of good and evil as well. I love how the past is being confronted with the burgeoning modernity of the 20th century. There's just so much happening here, and I think it's fantastic that he is setting this entire story in the Salinas Valley in California, where a lot of these influences are converging. You have valleys and mountains sitting side by side, and there's just so much that he uses as metaphors and symbols of this tension that is just omnipresent in the human experience, externally and internally. And so, absolutely loving his writing. That is what I'm reading. I feel like April has been a really good reading month. I had one not so great book, but I decided not to make a TBR this month really. I wanted to just allow my mood to dictate what I'm reading. And I feel like that has served me well because obviously doing the buddy reads that, you've got to read those books a little bit more aggressively because you're keeping up with discussion and you want to like partake in the group's perceptions of the book without anything being spoiled for you. But then these other books that I've sort of just chosen to read on my own, I can pick them up and put them down as necessary. And I'm not like, oh, April's ending soon and I got to get this done. Like, I'm done putting arbitrary pressure on myself. Let me know how your April reading month has been going. Are there any books you're excited about reading this summer that I should have on my radar? Let me know. Let's chat.
Hello, everyone. I woke up with a sore throat yesterday and spent most of the day in denial, thinking it was allergies. And as the day went on, it became very clear that this was something a little bit more intense. I'm sort of laughing at my bad luck because I went the entire cold and flu season without getting sick at all. And now that it's spring and 70 degrees outside, that is when my body has decided to give me an upper respiratory infection, apparently. So I am just winding down my workday. I had a meeting this morning and got up to just push some tasks through. I wanted to just make sure that hopefully I will be feeling better tomorrow and I could just wrap everything up on Friday, but who knows. But for now, I really need to rest and I am going to make myself some tea. I'm going to read as much as I can and hopefully put some dents between my TBR and the fact that it won't stop growing. I just finished reading a couple chapters of Taiwan Travelogue by Yáng Shuāng-Zǐ, translated by Lin King. I've really enjoyed looking at how Yang is constructing and dissecting the variety of ways that colonialism and imperialism impacts a culture and a country through food specifically. So Taiwan Travelogue features this author who is exploring the country of Taiwan. She herself is a Japanese national and she's going to Taiwan prior to World War II to just explore the country, learn about the food. The author's name is Aoyama, and she is very interested in the society and the culture of which she is visiting. And she's hooked up with an interpreter who, according to the introduction, has multiple different variations of her name depending on the language in which you're addressing her. So Wang Qian'ou is one of the names, but since Aoyama is Japanese, she calls her O Chizuru. Chi-chan for short. Chi-chan, sort of the familiar name that she assigns to her interpreter. And as the two of them navigate Taiwanese culture, exploring different dishes and tasting all the food, Aoyama is sort of blind to her status as colonizer, exploring a society that is colonized by her native country. And this tension that begins to play out between her and Chi-chan is very uncomfortable. And that, I think, is part of what Yang wants you to sit with, especially if you are, from a country who has imperialist past and colonial past. It's very uncomfortable to see the idealistic blindness that Aoyama is leading with, and the ways in which Chi-chan is responsible, honestly, for doing a lot of the work, literally, to keep up with Aoyama, to make Aoyama comfortable. And technically, Aoyama is not asking her to do these things, but she is complicit in these power structures simply because she is a visitor in this country. Chi-chan really has to do a lot of the emotional labor and the mental labor and is not being fairly compensated for her time. Aoyama is so, I don't know, naively excited to be navigating this society and culture, but there is really good tension being played out on the page here between colonized and colonizer. And then I'm going to switch gears now and read some more of Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm really loving this one. I was not expecting this to be literally told from the perspective of the artificial friend, who is essentially using the word robot feels very degrading to what Klara is. She's a very advanced, complex piece of technology, but I love that we're getting her perspective throughout this book. I am about 30% of the way through. I'm reading this with an online book discussion group that I'm a part of over on TikTok. I really need to reheat my tea, and I think I'm gonna make myself like a bagel. I really need to eat something. I'm not super hungry, but I need to give my body some kind of energy. I just finished part 2 of Klara and the Sun. I have so many questions. What is going on with Josie's mom? Is she okay? This book is very intriguing. I'm blasting through it. It's a very engrossing read, and for that reason, like, I'm just kind of flying through the pages, and I'm trying to actually slow down because I don't want to miss the finer details and some of the thematic points that are coming through the character interactions, but it's so hard because at the same time I want to just figure out what in the world is going on. There's so much mystery in this book. Super quick plot synopsis, because I think I forgot to give one in this video, but it follows Klara, who is she's an artificial friend, an AF for short. Again, a robot kind of is a little bit simplistic in terms of what she is, but she was picked out by this girl Josie to come live with her and be her live in AF. So we follow Klara as she is learning how to live with this family and, figure out their patterns and their habits and their personalities so that she can do her job to the best of her abilities, essentially. But there's a lot of mystery in this house. Josie is sick, and we don't really get a lot of details about what is causing her sickness. She has an older sister that was also sick and died. Klara is also trying to, much like the reader, also trying to understand what is going on. I just finished part 2 where they were going to take a trip to Morgan's Falls, which is like Josie's favorite like day trip, and something happened and it really has shifted the dynamics of the family and Clara's place within this home. I'm going to give this book a break at part 3 and switch to Emma M. Lyon. I'm so excited to start this book. I've heard so many good things about this book. It also attracts a really wide range of genre readers, like lit fic people, fantasy, romantasy, historical fiction. Like everybody kind of comes to this novel really excited. So I had to see what it was all about. I did end up buying the first volume. Let's get reading and see. Unfortunately, my sore throat is getting pretty bad, so I am going to just hop in the shower. I hope that I'm really banking on the fact that some steam will just help my sinuses feel better. We will see. I did not get as much reading done as I thought I would, but I still did make some serious headway in the 3 books that I chose. Thank you for spending a sick day with me today. Hopefully, I can kick this in the butt pretty quickly. We will see, but I'm going to end this here and just let the hot, hot steam wash over me and hope for the best at this point. That's all we can really do. So, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.